He told me I was nothing without him. Asterisk 2 months later, he was standing in the lobby of my company, asking for a job. My ex-husband once told me I would never succeed without him. He said it so casually, so confidently, as if he were stating a mathematical fact instead of crushing the woman who once believed he was her partner. That night, he stood near the doorway with his suitcase half-zipped, telling me I didn't have the brains, the ambition, or the strength to stand on my own. And 2 months later, he stood inside the lobby of a company he was desperately trying to get hired at, holding his printed resume, staring up at the woman he had underestimated. Me. He had no idea that the company interviewing him now belonged to the woman he discarded. He didn't know that losing him had given me the clarity, the hunger, and the freedom to build something far greater. I didn't plan revenge. I didn't chase payback. All I did was survive. But survival has a funny way of turning into power. And power has a way of circling back at the exact moment it hurts the most. For him, the last night of my marriage didn't look dramatic from the outside. There were no screaming matches, no broken plates, no neighbors calling the police. It happened quietly, the way buildings collapse from the inside long before the exterior walls fall. I was sitting at our tiny dining table, typing invoices and updating client notes because it was the last day of the month, and someone had to keep the business running. That someone was always me. Ryan walked in around 9 p.m., smelling like whiskey and expensive cologne, the kind he wore only when he wanted to impress someone who wasn't me. He loosened his tie with a sigh loud enough to make sure I heard it. Then he looked at me as if I had personally ruined his evening simply by existing. Asterisk, you know what your problem is, Mia, he said, and I kept my eyes on the laptop because looking up always escalated things. You think you're the smart one. I didn't respond. I'd learned silence was safer than honesty. But silence wasn't what he wanted. He strode over to me, grabbed my laptop, snapped it shut, and shoved it across the table. It almost fell off the edge. I'm talking, he said. You're listening. He leaned down, his face inches from mine. You embarrassed me tonight. In front of James. In front of Mark. In front of actual business people. I blinked at him, trying to understand. Because I corrected the revenue number, he scoffed. Because you made me look stupid. You undermine me. You keep forgetting who the leader is here. Asterisk, he pulled my chair toward him so abruptly. I gasped. Listen carefully. You are nothing without me, he said slowly, as if explaining math to a child. If I ever leave, you'll be begging for me to come back within a week. Then he grabbed his suitcase, the one he used for his business trips, and walked out. Just like that. No apology, no hesitation, just the sound of the door slamming, and the faint smell of whiskey lingering behind him. Asterisk, for a long time after he left, I just sat there. The silence was thick, heavy, strange, almost peaceful. Then fear rushed in. How would I run the business alone? How would I handle clients? How would I survive? It's ironic now how small I thought I was. That night, I believed him. I believed I couldn't do anything without him, even though I had been doing everything for years. I picked up my laptop, again, opened it, and stared at the numbers, the emails, the proposals. All the things I'd created while he took credit, and something inside me shifted, just a little. I worked until sunrise, half out of fear, half out of stubbornness. Asterisk 12. Days later, the betrayal came in the form of an email. A major client wrote, Ryan said you're stepping away from operations. Please confirm. I froze. Another email arrived within minutes, then another. He had contacted almost all our clients, telling them I was unstable, overwhelmed, taking time off. He was trying to make me irrelevant. My hands shook as I checked our account balances. Almost $14,000 gone. Our business savings drained. He had taken the money and the clients in one move. My chest tightened so painfully I thought I might faint. I sank to the floor of our office, leaned my head against the desk, and felt the first real wave of panic. He hadn't just walked away. He had tried to erase me. The next few days were a blur of survival. I called clients, reassured them, worked double hours, skipped meals, slept only when my eyes burned too much to keep open. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted to prove he was wrong about me. But the universe works in strange ways. It gives you exactly what you need the moment you're too exhausted to ask. On day 47. My phone rang while I was eating cereal for dinner. Is this Mia Carter? A formal voice asked. Yes, this is Daniel Pierce from Pierce Innovations. We'd like to discuss your proposal. My heart jumped. I had pitched them months ago, and Ryan told me I was wasting my time. Your deck was brilliant, Daniel said. We want to hire you. 3-month contract. I blinked. Too stunned to speak. Me, you. He repeated, not your agency, you. It felt like the world had shifted under my feet. I signed the contract the next morning. $42,000. The biggest deal of my career. All mine. By day 60. My life was unrecognizable. I had a new routine, new confidence, new clients. The nightmares stopped. The doubts quieted. I didn't miss him. I didn't want him back. I didn't even think about him until the day fate threw him back into my path. I stepped into the lobby of Pierce Innovations for a routine meeting. My hair was done, my blazer crisp, my posture steady. I felt like someone new, someone whole. And there he was, Ryan, standing at the reception desk, holding a resume, his suit wrinkled, his eyes tired, his confidence gone. He turned, and our eyes met. His expression crumbled the second he recognized me. Mia, he whispered. I smiled. Politely, the way you smile at a stranger who bumps into you. Good luck with your interview. I said, you'll need it. Confusion spread across his face. What are you doing here? He asked. I held up the folder in my hand. I bought the company. I said simply, majority share. 2 days ago. His mouth fell open. He stared at me as if the ground had disappeared beneath him. And maybe it had. Because in that moment, he realized the truth that had taken me months to see. I didn't just survive without him. I flourished. And he didn't just lose the game he thought he was winning. He lost to the woman he believed would fail without him. For the first few seconds after telling Ryan I owned the company, he just stood there frozen. His resume still pinched between his fingers like he didn't know whether to drop it or hide it. I watched the realization spread across his face, not all at once, but slowly, painfully, as each piece of his imagined superiority shattered. He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing twice before he managed to whisper, You bought this? His voice cracked at the end. I nodded once. 51%. I didn't add that Daniel Pierce himself insisted on making me majority stakeholder because he wanted someone competent and reliable having final authority. I didn't need to say it. Ryan wouldn't have understood anyway. He had spent so long believing he stood above me that he couldn't comprehend a world where he didn't. He opened his mouth again, but nothing came out. The receptionist called his name for the interview, and he looked at me one last time, as if hoping I'd tell him it was all a joke. You should go, I said calmly. He walked away stiffly, shoulders tight, his hands trembling as he took the elevator to the 4th floor. I stayed in the lobby, exhaling slowly, letting my heartbeat settle. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel giddy or vengeful. If anything, I felt strangely numb, like life was rearranging itself faster than I could process. But beneath that numbness, something new stirred. Quiet power. Soft, steady, grounded. The kind of power that doesn't need to brag or punish or prove anything. The kind of power I'd been denied for years. The meeting with Pierce Innovations went smoothly. I walked into the conference room where 10 executives waited. And for the first time in my professional life, I wasn't shrinking myself, wasn't second-guessing, wasn't wondering how Ryan would spin my words. I sat confidently, explained the campaign strategy, answered questions without hesitation. Daniel looked impressed. The others nodded often. When I finished, Daniel said, "You know, when we hired your agency before, we never quite understood why your husband led the meetings. Everything brilliant came from you." My chest tightened. "He led because he insisted on it," I said. "He said clients wouldn't take a woman seriously." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Then he's a bigger fool than I realized." A small laugh escaped me. It felt strange and foreign, but good. After the meeting, I left the office building still processing everything when the elevator doors opened again, and Ryan stumbled out. His interview must have ended early. He looked rattled, pale, almost sick. When he saw me, he froze again, then quickly walked toward me like a man running from a disaster, only to discover he was standing in the middle of it. "Mia, can we talk?" His voice was strained. I put my sunglasses on and kept walking. "I have another meeting. Please." His tone cracked. It was the first time I'd heard him sound afraid. Not angry, not condescending. Afraid. We stepped outside near the fountain, the midday sun reflecting off the water like broken glass. He shoved a hand through his hair. Why didn't you tell me you were working with Pierce Innovations?" I stared at him blankly. "Because we weren't married, and you weren't part of my business." He flinched. You own 51%, yes." "How?" "Hard work," I said simply. He shook his head, laughing bitterly. "Impossible. You couldn't have done all that in 2 months." I met his eyes. "I didn't do it in 2 months. I did it over the last 5 years. I just stopped giving you the credit." His jaw tightened. "I gave you everything." I blinked, stunned he could even form the sentence. "You gave me nothing." I said quietly, "You took my confidence, my money, my clients, and then my dignity. And still, here I am." He stared at the ground, chest rising and falling too fast. For a moment, I saw the truth. He wasn't devastated because he'd hurt me. He was devastated because he couldn't control me anymore. "I made a mistake," he mumbled. "A big one." I nodded slowly. "Yes, you did." I was stressed, overwhelmed. "I didn't mean any of it." "You meant every word," I said. "That's why I believed you." He stepped closer, desperation bleeding through every inch of him. "Mia, listen. We can fix this." I wasn't myself. "You were exactly yourself," I cut in. "And that's the problem." He stared at me, breath hitching, and finally whispered, Can we go somewhere and talk?" The question would have broken me months ago. Now, it didn't even shake me. "I have nothing left to say," I replied. "Our story ended the night you walked out." I left him standing there in the sunlight, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. When I reached my car, I finally exhaled, long and shaky. For the first time, the air didn't feel heavy in my lungs. I drove home my new apartment, my new life, and for the first time, I felt like I was driving towards something instead of away from something. Over the next week, I focused fully on work. The Pierce campaign came together beautifully. Clients called with praise I'd never been allowed to receive when Ryan controlled the narrative. My inbox filled with new inquiries, new opportunities. I woke up before my alarm because I was excited, not anxious. I stopped flinching when my phone buzzed. I slept without crying into my pillow. I bought groceries without checking my bank balance 3 times. Then the universe delivered the next twist. On Tuesday morning, Daniel called me into a private meeting. He shut the door, sat across from me, and tapped his fingers together thoughtfully. I want to offer you something, he said. My company is acquiring to smaller firms. We're restructuring, expanding, and we need someone to oversee our digital strategy division. You already have a director, I said, confused. Daniel smiled faintly. Not anymore. He resigned yesterday, and I've been waiting for the right moment to tell you. I think you should take the position. Asterisk, my heart stopped. Director? Director, he confirmed. Full benefits, high six-figure salary, and complete creative authority. My throat tightened. Why? Me? Daniel nodded at my portfolio. Because this company's best work came from you even back when your husband was taking credit for it. I didn't have words. I managed to whisper, I'd be honored. Good, he said. Then I'll have HR draft the contract. I left his office stunned, breathless, in awe of the life unfolding faster than I could believe. Asterisk, at lunch that same day, the receptionist approached me nervously. Ms. Carter, someone is downstairs asking for you. I didn't need to ask who. My chest tightened not with fear, but with irritation. I took the elevator to the lobby and found Ryan pacing near the security desk, eyes red, hairy mess, tie askew. He looked like he hadn't slept. He rushed toward me the moment he saw me. Nia, please just give me 10 minutes. No, I said flatly. Go home. I don't have a home, he whispered. My stomach twisted. What? He ran. A hand over his face, she kicked me out. The woman he left me for. And I lost 2 contracts. He continued. They pulled out when they heard about the situation. My brows lowered. What situation? He hesitated. Somebody told people about. What happened between us? The leaving. The money. The everything. Asterisk, a cold realization slid through me. Someone had exposed him, but not me. I hadn't told anyone outside my circle. I stared at him. Who told them? I don't know, but they mentioned a voicemail. Someone recorded me. My pulse quickened. A voicemail? Maybe one of his own friends. Maybe the woman he cheated with. Maybe Karma herself. Hitting send on the recording. I didn't care. You should go, I said. I can't help you. His eyes filled with panic. But you can. You're doing well. You have contacts. You have power now. You could get me a job. Just until I get back on my feet. There it was, the truth he'd been choking on. He wanted to use me again. No, I said firmly. You broke me once. You don't get to lean on me now. Asterisk, he reached for my hand. I stepped back. Please, Mia. I'm sorry. I shook my head. You're sorry because you're suffering. Not because you hurt me. His mouth opened, but I didn't wait. I walked away, and he didn't follow. Asterisk, that night, I sat in my apartment, staring out the window as the city lights flickered. I waited for guilt to hit me, but it never did. Instead, I felt something unfamiliar peace. Asterisk, 2 days later came the final shift. Asterisk, Daniel called me into his office again, this time with a stack of papers in front of him. We completed the acquisition, he said. That company your husband applied to be hired at. It was part of the deal. My stomach dropped. Meaning, Daniel slid the papers toward me. Meaning, he said calmly, you now own 100% of his employment file, his application, and his future within this company. If he were to be hired, he would be under your authority. Asterisk, my heart beat wildly. Not from excitement. Not from revenge. From realization. Life had handed me the final choice. I looked at Daniel. Will I be expected to approve him? Daniel shrugged. No. That decision belongs entirely to you. I sat silently for a long moment. Asterisk, then I signed the paper that officially denied his application. Asterisk, not out of anger. Asterisk, not out of revenge. Asterisk, but out of dignity. Asterisk, he said I would never succeed without him. Asterisk, and now I held the power to decide his career. Asterisk, I chose myself. Asterisk, always. When I denied Ryan's application, I expected some sense of triumph, or at least closure. But the moment I signed the document, I felt something softer, something steadier, like I had finally stepped out of a shadow I didn't realize I'd been standing in for years. Daniel placed the file aside as if it were just another piece of paperwork. For him, it was business. For me, it was the end of a story I had once thought would define my entire life. I walked out of his office with my shoulders straight, my steps lighter than they had ever been. I wasn't thinking about Ryan anymore. I was thinking about what came next for me. Asterisk, but life rarely lets stories close so cleanly. Asterisk, 2 mornings later. When I arrived at the office, the security guard stopped me. He looked uneasy, shifting from foot to foot. Miss Carter, there's someone outside asking for you. My jaw tightened. Let me guess. He nodded apologetically. It's him. He's been here since 7. I exhaled slowly, pressing my fingers to my temple before walking toward the glass doors. Asterisk, Ryan stood outside the building, pacing like a man trapped in his own head. His hair was messy, his eyes hollow, his clothes wrinkled as if he hadn't changed or slept in days. He looked so different from the man who once strutted around our apartment telling me I was nothing. When he saw me, he rushed forward. Please, he said, breathless. Just listen to me. I kept my arms folded. I already gave you my answer. Mia, I lost everything, he said, voice cracking. The woman I left you for threw me out. My friends won't return my calls. My parents said I can't move back in. I can't get hired anywhere. Someone sent that recording to every company I contacted. They all think I'm abusive. They think I'm unstable. Asterisk, for a moment, the old version of me, the one who bent, who soothed, who fixed rose like a ghost inside my chest. But she didn't speak. She didn't take control. She simply passed through me like a memory I no longer lived. I'm sorry you're going through that, I said softly, but I didn't do that to you. You did that to yourself. His eyes filled with desperation. I made mistakes. I know that. But you can't just watch me drown. You watched me drown for years, I replied, and you called it leadership. Asterisk, he stepped closer, lowering his voice. I thought you loved me. I held his gaze steadily. I did. But love dies when you stop feeding it. He closed his eyes, shoulders trembling. Can you just give me something? Advice, a connection, anything to help me get back up for the first time. I realized he didn't want me, he wanted the woman he could use. The woman he could step on. The woman he could break. And that woman didn't exist anymore. Ryan, I said quietly, I hope you find help. Honestly. But I am not your lifeline. Asterisk, I turned and walked away. And this time, he didn't follow. Asterisk, for a week, everything was peaceful. I threw myself into work, building a team of people who trusted my leadership. Instead of questioning it, I hired 2 new analysts and a creative strategist. I approved designs, led client meetings, reviewed campaigns, and redesigned our digital strategy department from the ground up. Every time I walked into a room, people listened not because they feared me, but because they respected me. It was intoxicating in a way I didn't expect. Not the power itself, but the balance of it. The fairness. The clarity. I wasn't fighting for space anymore. I occupied it naturally. Asterisk, but peace never lasts long when someone is sinking. Asterisk, on Friday afternoon, just as I was leaving the building, I found Ryan sitting on a bench near the parking lot. My heart tightened with a mix of frustration and pity. His shoulders were slumped, his eyes swollen, his hands shaking. He didn't get up when he saw me. He just stared at the ground. I know you don't owe me anything, he said quietly as I approached. But I'm scared. The word felt foreign coming from him. I don't have an apartment anymore. He continued. I have been sleeping in my car. I have $200 left. I don't know where else to go. I swallowed, fighting the urge to respond emotionally. Instead, I spoke carefully. You need to go to your family. They won't help me. Then go to a shelter, I said. He looked horrified. A shelter? I did it alone, I replied. So can you? He shook his head, tears spilling over. You don't understand. I was wrong about everything. You were the strong one. You were the talented one. You were it was always you. I just didn't want to admit it. His voice cracked. I'm asking you, please don't let me fall this far. For a moment, my heart twisted not out of love, but out of grief for the man I once hoped he could be. I knelt down beside him. Ryan, I said gently, if I save you now, you'll never learn anything, and I'll lose everything I've built. He let out a choked sob. I don't know how to be like you. I stood slowly. Neither did I. But I learned. I walked away for the final time. The next Monday, Daniel called me in again. I assumed it was about the new contract. But when I stepped into his office, he gestured for me to sit. There's something you should know, he said. The board reviewed your performance these past months. Your leadership, your growth, your contributions. He paused. And they want to promote you again. Vice President of Digital Strategy. My breath left my chest. Vice President, you earned it, Daniel said. You didn't just rise after falling. You rebuilt our entire department in 2 months. You made us profitable in ways we haven't seen in years. You're a force. Mia, the contract was placed in front of me. I signed it with hands that trembled not from fear, but from disbelief. 6 months ago, I was sitting on the floor of my apartment crying into my knees. Today, I was a vice president. That same evening, as I walked to my car, the security guard approached me awkwardly. Miss Carter, there's something else. My heart dropped. He's not here again, is he? No, he said. His parents came by earlier. They were looking for you. Confusion washed over me. For me? They wanted to thank you, he said. Ryan told them everything, the truth. They said you tried your best, more than he deserved. For a long moment. I stood there under the glow of the parking lot. Lights, letting the weight of that settle. Someone who once claimed I was nothing, now told his parents I had been everything. That night, I sat at my dining table the same way I had months before, but this time, I wasn't crying or scrambling or breaking. I was planning. I was dreaming. I was taking control. I looked out the window at the city skyline and whispered to myself, this is my life now. 2 weeks later, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that Ryan found a job at a small tech startup in another city. Nothing glamorous, nothing prestigious, but stable. His parents helped him get therapy. He apologized to them, to himself, and maybe that was enough, not for us, but for him. As for me, I never saw him again, not in person, but sometimes I'd see his name pop up in old files or archived emails, and it wouldn't hurt anymore. It wouldn't sting or twist or ache. It was just a reminder of who I used to be, and who I became after I chose myself. He once told me I'd never succeed without him. But the truth was simple. I succeeded the moment he was gone. And everything I built after that. I built not to prove him wrong. But to prove myself right. If this journey pulled you in, don't leave without leaving your mark. Hit that like button right now. It tells me you're standing with stories like me is. Asterisk, drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one of them. Asterisk, and if you want more stories of power, betrayal, and the kind of revenge that doesn't shout, but echoes, asterisk, turn on that subscribe button and hit the bell. Asterisk, this is just the beginning, and you won't want to miss what's coming next.